Okay. Hi, everyone. I am going live to answer the questions from the Ask Me Anything that I posted this morning. And I posted it on my Facebook, hi, and Instagram and stories. And I got like 20 something questions. I got a little more than that. I kind of filtered through some of them. Hey, and I printed them out and I divided the questions between health related, food related, or personal. There were definitely some personal ones, which is funny. And I'm going to answer them in order. And so what I'm going to do is I printed out the questions. And so when I'm done, hey, Leanne, everyone watching, Leanne's book came out yesterday. So you better go get it, Keto Diet Cookbook. And I think you're still doing giveaways with it. Anyway, we did a giveaway on my page, and a very lucky winner in Hawaii won. And every time people in Hawaii win stuff, I guess I'm partial. Sorry. Anyways, but I totally picked the winners randomly. Okay, back on track. So I'm going to answer 20 questions, which were sourced from you guys. You guys asked me these questions either by dropping comments on my Instagram feed or via the little DM. And like I said, I'm going to answer them in order of health, food, and then personal questions. And I like doing these because oftentimes if one person asks a question, then usually more than one person has that question. So it's a great way to just answer everyone's questions, right? And if you have any more that come up during this live, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll post again. I am doing this also on Facebook and Instagram. So my Facebook live feed, I will download and then put on my YouTube channel. So it's there forever. So if there's ever anything you want to come back to. Okay. So the first question I got was, if I had two books for overall reference books, which would they be? Like if I had to only pick two books to reference for things, which would they be? And that's a really hard one. I would say one book I truly love is Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price. Sorry, I'm like dropping things. This text is like the basis of my NTA training. And if you need like one book to really go off of ancestral health, this is it. So one of the books I would always go back to for overall reference books. I really like Paleo Principles as well by Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, or she has the Paleo approach, and those are definitely more Paleo centered and more AIP. But I think that I just love like the whole like basics of nutrition, and I really think that from there, as long as you have that, then you can tweak when it comes to macros on your own, right? Someone asked a question, what is the best way to test for carb and protein threshold tolerance once you know you're in ketosis? You just troubleshooting. I mean, I think that like carb and protein, I don't think protein kicks you out of ketosis. I don't think that's a thing. Protein, the whole gluconeogenesis thing, that's going to be an on-demand process, and unless you have severe metabolic damage, protein's a building block. Like your body's not really going to break it down for fuel unless it really, 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 really needs to. But there's a lot of Dr. Benjamin Bickham has done a lot of research on that, and in the context of a low-carb diet, protein doesn't seem to be a problem with insulin issues. As far as for your carb tolerance, it's really important once you're in ketosis. Like I think for most people, they have to do their glucose depletion and you have to become a fat burner. Once you're there, you just have to test how high you can go. And I also think that it depends like on your cycle. You know, you're more insulin resistant in the follicular phase. It depends on how much you're working out. So if you're someone who's really active, you'll probably have a higher carb tolerance. But the best way to do this is just to get a glucose meter and check your blood sugar and check it regularly. So I would say like before meal, like fasted, like right before you eat, an hour after you eat, and then 2 hours after you eat, and just do that with different kinds of foods. And I say check your blood sugar, not your ketone levels, because once you're fat adapted, and especially if you've been doing this for a long time, testing ketones is kind of tricky. Like you're not always going to have high ketone levels, and people freak out sometimes, but not all of us. If your body's using them, they might not be even in your blood to test, so you're going to freak out like, oh my God, am I in ketosis? But if your blood sugar is relatively low, you're going to be in ketosis. Okay, So those are the two books, Paleo Approach and the Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. This is definitely like super important book for ancestral health. Practical answers. Question number 2. Practical answers to get out of diet mentality. So, that one's a little hard because I don't understand like the use of practical answers. Like, I don't know what she means by that. I think that diet mentality is just everywhere, and you have to like kind of have honest conversations with yourself about not always going to over restriction, and also knowing that the way you eat has more to do than with just your weight, that you're also going to, you want to heal your body, you want to feel great. It's not just about your dress size. So I always say like my favorite thing is the burn the wagon mentality. And I have a 2-week, it's like the TLC challenge. It's a 2-week self-care challenge on my blog. And whenever people are really struggling with like this punishment mentality, I always tell them, go do the TLC challenge, go do 2 weeks of like conscious self-care, because that's a really good first step into getting out of that punishment and restriction mentality. Someone said, I'm really active yet my carb tolerance is horrible. So, Heather, something that brings to mind is I always tell people, if you're overly stressed, and you're working out, if you're really active, right? You're saying you're really, really active. So that could be a stress thing. And you're an NTP, so you know this, but I'm in the program now, and I know that's something that Thomas, one of my instructors, always says. He's like, he believes that insulin resistance isn't like insulin resistance causes stress in the body. He believes stress causes insulin resistance. And I've noticed that's very true. I know when I've had other health issues going on, I really have to dial back my workouts, because my workouts are fun and they make you feel good in the moment, but they cause stress on your body. So yeah, girl, I'll stop now because I know you know. Okay, so the next question I got was, what steps did I take to feel better after my recent fatigue? So the reason I had fatigue in January and February was because I was going through a SIBO protocol, and the SIBO protocol, you have die-off symptoms, and die-off symptoms can suck and they cause fatigue. But I didn't really do anything other than just really support my body through it, like a lot of hydration, a lot of sleep. I made sure I was eating enough. And I talked about this a little bit, like where I was tracking my macros, not to restrict my calories, but to make sure I was getting enough calories. Because I was doing everything possible to not have my body, like my adrenals pumping out cortisol, because I think that I was just in a state where I was like over too much cortisol production, which goes to that, like that could make you more insulin resistant actually. And I was having that problem where I felt like my insulin resistance was kind of starting to come back, but it was only related to my stress levels. And the minute I got those down and handled, I was fine. And that meant taking days off the gym, taking days off of work, going to sleep early, baths, like lots of self-care, whatever, like kind of that mentality of like, let the barn burn down, let the dishes pile up if need be. I needed to like chill out, and it's paid off. Okay. Next question. This one, a few people asked about low estrogen, especially low estrogen in regards to menopause. And I will say that I don't have menopause. I haven't experienced that, so I'm not like an expert in menopause, but I can tell you about foods that can boost estrogen. So I think even through menopause, seed cycling is a really good idea. It's a little harder when you don't know, when your cycle's starting to fade. But if you can start seed cycling with the first of a cycle, even if it's like your last one, and kind of every 14 days change the seeds you're having, those can help, because the way that seed cycling works is that in the follicular phase, essentially when your hormones are flatlined, you're eating, it's flaxseed and I think flax and pumpkin, which can help boost estrogen. And then you have sunflower and sesame in the other part that'll help balance estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. Other foods that are estrogenic: sweet potato, garbanzo beans, maca powder. So essentially just eating these kinds of foods, if your estrogen's low, can help. Other things, if you have like crazy like adrenal fatigue, essentially like your cortisol output is just like over exasperated, your sex hormones, that happens. Like if your fight or flight goes on too long and then you push through the resistance reaction phase and you get your body to exhaustion, you're going to deplete your sex hormones to fuel the cortisol response in your body. So making sure you're managing your stress is super important through menopause and beyond, and just in general to balance hormones. Then someone said that thoughts on intermittent fasting. Actually, someone also said menopause and weight gain, intermittent fasting, and keto to help. So to piggyback off that, I think the issue with menopause, the reason why women tend to like either gain weight or it just makes it harder to lose weight is what happens to all of us essentially as we get older. Like our hormones go out of whack after you have kids. You know, estrogen is actually good. Like too much estrogen makes us gain weight, but also the lack of hormones is also going to make it just, anytime there's any imbalance in the hormones, weight gain, like weight loss is just out the window. And so I think that really nurturing your body and making sure you're managing your stress is really good. However, while keto is great, remember it's a hormetic stress on the body. There is a level of stress that it causes, although it can be a good stress. However, because it is even a good stress on your body, like working out, working out is a good stress. But if you have too many other negative stresses on your body, your body can't tell the difference, right? Between crazy work schedule and emails and deadlines and your house just burned down and your kid has pneumonia and your dog got run over versus like you ran a marathon. Like your body can't tell the difference. So you really have to prioritize like taking care of your adrenals if you're going to be doing intermittent fasting and keto, especially if you're menopausal or like postpartum or anything like that, because your hormones are already in kind of an imbalanced state. So yeah, I think that they can be effective tools for weight loss, but remember, weight loss isn't like, it's a short-term goal in a sense when you think of your health. So I always say like, when your body's ready to lose the weight, if you've healed everything else and you're eating properly, the weight should come off. It shouldn't be like, I have to keep cutting away at my diet to reach my goals. That just means that there's something going on in the system, like a gut dysbiosis or digestive issue. So yeah, if you do keto and intermittent fast, remember it's not about caloric deficits, it's about restricted eating windows. So I would just start slow with a 16 fasting window, which do it at night. So it's mostly while you're sleeping, kind of like a late breakfast, early dinner scenario. But just make sure that in your eating window, you're eating enough food and like nutrient dense foods, super important. Again, thoughts on intermittent fasting for healing leaky gut and weight loss. Same thing. Leaky gut, your stress makes your gut Swiss cheese. So if you want to do intermittent fasting, you have to just make sure that you're not under eating in the grand scheme of things, and that you're also supporting your body all around, so that your fasting window isn't overly stressful on your body, and then that way you're not going to exacerbate your leaky gut. So again, and also the thing with intermittent fasting in women, it's not something that's completely documented. And I do intermittent fasting most of the time, but when it doesn't feel right, I don't do it. Just don't get married to an idea. You can intermittent fast most days of the week and then not do it other days also, so again, it can be a really great window, especially if you're eating low, not windows. It can be a really great tool, especially for me to regulate hunger signals. I think that there's some benefits there, with, the hunger hormones, but if it doesn't feel right, if it's not working for you, stop it. Acid reflux solutions. So, acid reflux is greatly misunderstood, and most people, feel like they say it's too much acid. It's more like acid in the wrong place at the right time, at the wrong time. When I had really bad acid reflux in my 20s, I healed it completely and never got it again by taking apple cider vinegar, shots of apple cider vinegar. And even today, I just did I had low stomach acid because before my apple cider vinegar thing, I took Prilosec and Nexium and Tums and all those proton inhibitors. It was the worst. Yeah, Leah, you did. We just finished talking about the menopause stuff. But remember, this will go on my YouTube channel. So you can do, if you work with your doctor or nutritional therapy practitioner, you could always do hydrochloric acid for acid reflux. But if just try doing the apple cider vinegar, just taking a little bit of vinegar and water a few times a day, it should help with acid reflux. Also, like, of course, carbonated beverages, limit those, nightshades, tomatoes, spicy food, fried foods, things like that. What brand of supplements do I recommend? So there's 3 brands that I really like. Unfortunately, like 2 of them got bought by like big companies, but so far they haven't changed any of the formulas. So I like Thorne, Research, Pure Encapsulations, but those 2 just got bought out, I think, by like Nestle and someone else. However, their stuff is still good, but just always read the ingredients because you never know when they're going to change the formulation. And then I use Biotics Research now, mostly because that's the brand that my school uses, and that's who just I order from now. Hold on, I have a few questions on Instagram. I'm going to scroll back and see if I can answer them. We have a lot of questions. Someone says that there's been studies showing that stress isn't bad, it's how we handle and process stress. Well, the thing is that stress inherently, like, the level of input that we have in the modern world is nothing like what our ancestors dealt with. Like, yeah, we're supposed to have some level of stress, like staying alive, but nowadays our body can't tell the difference between like the email, the bumper to bumper traffic, all the environmental toxins, all those things are causing stress on our body. So it's not that stress inherently, it's not like you have to go live like in a meadow and like la 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 and live in la la lands, but there's too much going on. It's just like we're not really evolved to live in the world we live in. And I do agree, like some people, like a lot of people who, what do they call them? Like the roll off your back people who like have that ability to like not let things phase them. Those are the people who live the longest, 110%. Doesn't matter what they eat or what they drink. Relaxed people who don't let things phase them, they live the longest because stress is the worst. And it is about how we handle stress. But I know my personality and I'm like pretty passionate about things. And so I have to deal with my stress in more tangible ways because I definitely am not a roll off, my back kind of person. I kind of freak out over everything. How did I decide I was ready to hit Orange Theory in terms of stress and physical endurance? Okay, I'll get to that. Okay, I guess I can get to that now. I've been working out and healing this body of mine for 4 years now. And in that time, I've there were times where I felt better and I tried to do more intense things like spinning. And I did it for a while until like I had some flares and I stopped. But I just needed a change. I really wanted group fitness. And I think that I was just kind of in a rut of like doing the same thing. And I finished the No Fail Physique program. And I just felt a lot stronger than I had been in a while. And I wanted to push myself. And I felt I was ready. Like I've really taken care of myself. So, yeah, but I've been at this for a while, Thoughts on milk thistle. So milk thistle is like an herb and herbal supplement that is for liver support. I wouldn't take milk thistle all the time, but if you want to take it for short bouts to help your body's detox pathways go for it, it's supposed to be good for your liver. I took milk thistle when I first started keto. I think most people need to really support their liver when they first start keto because it tends to like that quick weight loss at the beginning, the water weight that comes out, just like your body's kind of gonna start letting go of things. But there's a lot of things you can do to support your liver that isn't taking a supplement, like eating broccoli sprouts, drinking lots of water, cruciferous vegetables in general. But yeah, milk thistle is not bad. I mean, it's milder than a lot of other things you can take. It's just not something I would take on long term. Tips to living with IBS. I did a Whole30 and it helped, but not a lot. Should I do the AIP? So yeah, autoimmune protocol is really effective for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. There's a lot of people who have found remission doing the autoimmune protocol with IBS. Again, stress management is really important. I think elimination diets are fantastic. A Whole30 is a really good place to start. And like I said, if it didn't help, then yes, if you could graduate to an autoimmune protocol elimination diet, that might be really helpful. There was a study, they did a peer-reviewed study with people with Crohn's and IBS, and I think it was like, there's some pretty high percentages of remission in the study, like 75%, within like 6 weeks or something like that. It just depends on the severity, but anytime you're going into like a whole food, anti-inflammatory diet, it's really gonna help. Menopause and weight gain, we talked about that. Oh, someone asked me if I'm still keto, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, that it's so hard to talk about like this stuff online. Like I talk about eating carbs sometimes and then people are like, oh, she's not keto anymore. just because I eat carbs sometimes doesn't mean I still don't. I am not keto. I eat keto. It's not, my food doesn't define who I am. But yeah, I still do most of the time low carb, high fat meals. It's how I like to feel my body. I do feel better as a fat burner. When I first started Orange Theory, I was doing regular carb ups because my body did need to transition to that different kind of workout. There's a lot more cardio than I'm used to. However, after like 3 weeks, I didn't need the carb ups anymore. And so now I do my Orange Theory workouts fasted. I did an 1.5-hour workout fasted yesterday and I did not die. I just eat enough when I get home. And if I do need a carb up, I will have one. But well, TMI, but I'm about to ovulate. So I was in my follicular phase, which is definitely when you're a little more insulin resistant. So I was mindful also to just keep it lower carb. And maybe after I ovulate, I will do a carb up. It just depends. I think that a cyclical ketogenic approach can be really beneficial for active women, especially in terms of like hormone health, performance, and just also keeping your sanity. So it's a good way just to not lump carbs into like good or bad. They're useful. We're just so used to overeating them that then we're like, oh, all carbs are bad. It's like, no, if you eat carbs every meal all the time, every day, and you're addicted to sugar, that's bad. But if you have sweet potato with dinner once or twice a week, it's not bad. There's no good or bad. There's just, the food you eat and how it makes you feel. Okay. Do I think egg fasts are beneficial to get back into ketosis? I think egg fasts, I wouldn't say beneficial. I would say effective. Yeah, if you want to get back into ketosis quickly, there's a lot of ways to do that. You could fast, like just a regular fast, and work out, like a light workout fasted, it'll get you to back into ketosis really quick. My issue with things like egg fasts, and in general, people who feel the need to like do fasts all the time to maintain, it's like, that's not sustainable to me. Because if you lose weight because you only ate eggs for 5 days, but when you eat regular food, you're going to gain that weight back, then what's the point? I'm a big fan of slow, sustainable results. Because anything that's done, like I see a lot of people on keto who do like hardcore fasting or 1 meal a day or like crazy calorie deficits, and they lose a lot of weight really quickly, but then they're always yo-yoing because they're like, oh, I gained 10 pounds back, time to go do another cleanse or time to go do another egg fast. And I'm like, then what's the point of doing them? Just stay the course. People are always trying to course correct. I'm like, just stick to something, and if you're seeing results, even if they're slow, that's going to be a better thing. Sorry, that wasn't the question, but I just see a lot of people doing egg fast to like lose quick weight. I'm like, what's the point of losing quick weight if you're just going to gain it back just as quickly? So yeah, I would say that if you want to do one, sure, but there's better ways. There's other ways. Just if you just reduce your carbohydrates and like are relatively active, it's going to get you back into ketosis. It's not that hard. Our bodies, if you are already a fat burner, your body will come in and out of ketosis very quickly. We cannot store that much glycogen and glucose in our body. Like seriously, we use it up. So like if it's only like, what is it, like 200 calories worth, or something like that. So if you use it, like even someone who eats carbs all the time, if they're active and like Justin, my husband, he's a total sugar burner, but he goes on a 50-mile bike ride. He comes back, he's in ketosis, Okay. Keto with kidney disease. Now, I don't know enough about this to say yes or no, but I will say go check out Tasty Yummies, Beth Manos Sprickley at Tasty Yummies. She has kidney disease and she does mostly keto. Like she does paleo, whole food, gluten-free, real food, nutrient dense. And I know she definitely feels better on a low carb approach. I would check out her blog and she would have more information on this. My thing is this, when people say, oh, can I paleo, Whole30, keto, AIP with blank. If your approach to any of these is real food, yes, of course it's not going to hurt. Like if you're going to do keto and you're going to just go full-blown sugar alcohols and packaged foods, no. But if you're going to do keto as like plants and animals, like leafy greens and quality protein and olive oil and grass-fed butter, that can't hurt. Like eating real food is never going to hurt you. So I would say it depends on how you keto, but yeah. Okay, now we're moving on to the second part of my answering questions. which is, what's my perfect meal? And this was asked by Frank. He is, he's a foodie. He always asks me good foodie questions. I don't know. I think my perfect meal has definitely evolved. And it changes with like my mood. Like right now it's spring and the produce is just so lovely, and I'm really liking bold flavors lately. Like I'm super into like vinegary kind of flavors and crunch and spice. So I think my perfect meal would be like a really good steak, like a hanger steak or something really tender with a nice like peppery crust on it. And served with like a big creamy crunchy salad with some sweet components to it, like berries or something. That sounds really good. I don't know. Okay, this is a fun question. How do I make shrimp crispy without a grill? So one of my favorite ways to cook shrimp is in a skillet. Now the problem with shrimp, or not the problem, the trick to getting shrimp in a skillet is you can't overcrowd it. So in general, whenever you're gonna cook seafood, you want to make sure you pat it dry. So if you're doing shrimps or scallop, or even you want to sear a fish. So if you get your shrimp, first of all, you want to, you get the scissor and you cut it through the middle, you open it, you devein it, you peel it, take off the tail. The tails look pretty when you serve them, but no one eats them, so you might as well just take them off. Make sure you drain them really well, you pat them dry. Then you heat a skillet, a big skillet, use a 12-inch skillet, right? And heat it until it's like hot. Like I heat it over medium heat, and then when it feels hot to the touch, like when your hand's like this far away and it feels hot, melt plenty of fat, like 2 to 3 tablespoons of like ghee or olive oil. And then I would lightly salt the shrimp or add any kind of dry seasoning to it. No marinades yet. Do like a dry seasoning, toss the shrimp, and then put them, like, don't just throw them in the skillet, put them flat side down, like arranging them so they're not overlapping and not touching. People often don't realize overcrowding food in your skillet or your sheet pan is the #1 way to get soggy food. Do not crowd your skillets or your sheet pans. Even if you have to do things in batches, don't crowd your food. So cook them face side down, like one side down, until you can see that they're getting really pink and starting to coil. And don't move them. That's how you need that crisp, to get that crust. And then you flip them over and cook them another like 3 minutes until, again, they're coiled and they get a nice pink color. And that should get a really good crust on them. And now if you really want to finish them off really yummy, do a little coconut aminos just at the end, and it'll like boil away and glaze up. Oh my gosh, so good. So that's a really good way to cook crispy shrimp in a skillet. Someone asked about AIP restaurants in Arlington and Springfield. I don't really have any recommendations. I've had the hardest time eating out here. Definitely nothing AIP friendly that I have found. Sorry. Uses for matcha other than tea. You could do like fat bombs with it. You could put it into smoothies. You can blend it with some avocado and cacao. Like if you just want the benefits of it, right? Because it's super high in like polyphenols and antioxidants, and it's pretty good sustained energy. You could get really creative and like mix it into like a green goddess dressing or something. I would check out like Wild Foods. They sell matcha, and they have like a blog with a lot of like recipes. Someone says that they have IBS and FODMAP has been really helpful. It's best when I just eat meat, coconut oil, and I really miss avocados. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Oh, how much sea salt do I add to my water? So I don't add sea salt to my water. Well, I guess it essentially is sea salt. It's unrefined salt, but the salt I use is Redmond real salt, which is from an ancient sea. So it's a salt mine that's no longer from the ocean, but it used to be an ocean back in the day. Now, the difference between sea salt and this ancient salt is that, like, while sea salt is better because it's got the minerals, the problem is that sea salt that they use from the ocean today, that they like dehydrate it has microplastics in it because the ocean is so messed up. So I like Redmond real salt because it's from an ancient, like where there used to be ocean, like I guess when Utah was underwater, but it isn't anymore. So it's a salt mine. And it's full of minerals, and it's delicious, and there's no plastic. And how much, it depends. I usually do it before my workouts. I either take a pinch I put it under my tongue and then drink water, or I just get like a quarter teaspoon and mix it into my cup. Okay, we're getting to the end. A few more questions. When am I coming to Singapore? I don't know. I don't know plans yet to go to Singapore. What am I doing now for my workouts that I'm done with No Fail Physique? I'm doing Orange Theory. I really like Orange Theory. I'm having a lot of fun. I go 3 to 4 times a week. It's an hour-long workout, and it's a mix between running, rowing, and weightlifting. And yeah, it's fun. What makes me laugh? That's funny. My husband, Justin's hilarious. He makes me laugh pretty much every day, and so does Jack. They're both clowns. I don't know. Sometimes irony, like life is hilarious. Yeah, I like jokes. Okay, this is a first one. People always ask, are we having more children? No, Justin and I are not having any more children. Jack and Bruce are all we need, and we're good. How's the NTA program, and is it manageable working full time? I don't know, man. So if you have like a full-time job outside of the home and you have like family and kids at home, I don't think so. Because it's like 20 hours a week. There's periods where there's breaks, but it's a lot. It's a lot of material to get through, and it's time consuming, and it takes up space. Like there's books and files and folders and papers and notebooks. It's like, oh my gosh. So if you work like 40 hours a week out of the house and you come home late and you have like family and kids and spouses and pets, I would say that's really hard. If you have a flexible job where maybe you have a few days a week off, like if you're a nurse, maybe, but it's a tough. I know people have done it. Like I know Allison Mars at Food by Mars, Allison Maras, she did it. Oh, look, there you go. Heather said she did it full time with a job and she did the program. Maybe I'm just a baby about that kind of stuff. But that's also, I'm not having any more kids because like having one was completely overwhelming. Yeah, I mean, it's worth it, I think. I think it's worth it if you're going to be committed to building a business out of it. But even that part's going to take a lot of your time. So are you ready to transition out of your full-time job? You know, it's also a big monetary investment. It's $5,000 up front. And I don't think they have payment plans. Justin and I took it out of our savings, and I've been paying back monthly. So like I loaned myself the money out of our joint like little nest egg. And so the first of every month, Justin's like, hey, payments due. And I'm like, okay, at least there's no interest. That's how I did it. So yeah, you have to make sure, you know, you're going to invest the time. Are you having more real food sweeteners in your new book? Oh yeah, someone did ask about what can we expect for the new book. So in the next cookbook, I'm not using any erythritol. And I know I might get scolded for that, but I'm moving away from using erythritol. While some of my most popular recipes use them, and I still use them sometimes, like when I just want to bake, I feel that more and more people are reacting to them, are getting digestive distress from them. I mean, we pee them out, but like not all of them. So we don't really know. We don't know how they affect our blood sugar really. Like you can't say they don't affect everyone's blood sugar. So the 2 sweeteners that I'm using in my cookbook as of right now are stevia and the yacon syrup. And I only have like 2 dessert recipes right now for the book anyway. But it's stevia glycerite, and then I might do a date syrup, like a low carb date syrup that's on my blog. So, but I have to test the muffin recipe with that one. But yeah, I'm not using sugar alcohols in the next book. And there aren't going to be that many sweets in it, maybe 10 treats, if anything. Right now there's an avocado ice cream that's so good. And then the blueberry muffins, which I actually wrote for the book, but ended up putting on the blog just like they were so good. But the ones in the book don't use the syrup. It uses the yacon, or it uses the date syrup. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for the next book. But there's not gonna be like a lot of baked goods. Why do I use salt like that though? So the reason I take salt is because, well, for you is when you're low carb, you don't retain water. Like essentially for every gram of carbohydrates, you retain like 2 to 3 grams of water or something like that. So when you're not eating that many carbs, you're not retaining water as much, and you like get dehydrated. So having that unrefined salt that has all the trace minerals helps with your electrolytes and helps me retain water better. So yeah, that's why and it gives me energy and it makes me feel good. 3 to 4 what? I'm not sure what you meant. The date syrup is so good. Thank you. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I do have a low carb date syrup on the blog, and it is low carb. It's like, so essentially it's just as low carb as any of the sugar alcohols out there, except the sugar alcohols, you have to do net carbs and reduce the sugar and omit the sugar alcohols, which you may or may not absorb. But the date syrup is only like 1 or 2 grams of carbs per tablespoon. So it's date syrup mixed with water and coconut oil. And it is low glycemic. So if you're only using, like on pancakes, a tablespoon, Monk fruit is good too. The thing about monk fruit is this, like, which monk fruit are you using? Because a lot of people say, oh, I use monk fruit, but they're using Lakanto. Lakanto isn't monk fruit. Lakanto is erythritol with monk fruit. And like, so are a lot of those monk fruit sweeteners that taste really good. Because I have pure monk fruit in the tin, and that ish is strong. Like, I could do stick my finger in it, and just the dust from that is like almost too much to sweeten a recipe. So I think when people say, oh, I love monk fruit, I'm like, most of the sweeteners on the market are monk fruit cut with erythritol. They're not pure monk fruit. Bruce. 3 to 4 Orange Theory workouts a week. Yeah, I started with 3. Bruce, I started with 3. You hear this dog? He's hilarious. Yeah, Lakanto definitely, like, I would say, as far as like the keto sweeteners on the market, the flavor is the best. And I recommend that. If you're going to do keto baking, I recommend it. And this is my thing. I still use sugar alcohols on occasion, but I probably bake like a cake or my avocado brownies or my keto cookies, which they're super delicious. I probably make those maybe twice a year, right? Most of the time, if I'm eating sweets, it's either my 3-ingredient mug cake, which is no sweetener added, 90% dark chocolate, or like those keto cups, right, that are barely sweetened. And so I'm not doing like actual, like those hyper palatable foods, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to get away from those, essentially. Like, they're supposed to be for special occasions, not all the time food. And I know that's not a popular opinion, and I get it. My most popular recipe, the reason my blog even exists, is because that avocado brownie recipe went viral. I swear to God, it's still this day my most popular recipe. But those are just not supposed to be everyday foods. And like, those recipes are always the most popular because that's what people want, and that's what the internet wants, and that's how, there's whole blogs and businesses based just on keto comfort foods. But at the end of the day, for people's health and wellness and longevity, plants and animals, man, plants and animals. And just keep it simple. It's the worst. I'm like the worst businesswoman. What about Lakanto monk fruit extract? I don't know. Do they have one that's just pure extract? I haven't used that. Anyway, so the next book, I'll finish with this because this is getting a little long. I've been on here forever. My next book is going to be easy recipes. So it's going to be made whole, made simple. So the basis of the book is going to be sheet pan, 1 pot, slow cooker. I don't think slow cooker. Man, who uses a slow? Can I get a show of hands? Slow cooker or pressure cooker? Because I was going to do one of each, but I cannot bring myself to use my slow cooker. I'm not a slow cooker person. I bought one and it's just still catching dust. So anyway, so the next book is going to be simply prepared meals. So super nutrient dense. The head notes of the recipes have like really fun, nutritional information, like this dish is high in vitamin C, or this dish has really bioavailable nutrients because of this, or whatever, So I think that, so the next book is going to be really big on nutrition, on like foods that heal, on like foods for specific things. I'm really going to talk about like, kind of like a pharmacy, get it? Like farm, like food-acy, things like that. Both. No, don't say both. That's not fair. I'm going to do slow cooker or pressure cooker, or maybe do a pressure cooker chapter and include slow cooker instructions. But I was going to do a chapter for each. I have 25 sheet pan recipes and like 25 one-pot recipes and like 4 pressure cooker recipes and like 1 slow cooker recipe. I really can't bring myself to use a slow cooker. It's just not my style. I don't know. We'll see. But the whole basis of the book is to create meals that are like really easy to prepare. I'm not going to do both. Stop saying both, people. Everyone keeps saying both. Stop being selfish. Too much work. It's too much work. Pressure cooker. I think I'm going to go pressure cooker and then have slow cooker instructions. Maybe. Or maybe just do a chapter that's a mix of both. I don't know. But yeah, that's the basis of the next book. It is going to be dairy-free, nightshade-free. There's a lot of AIP recipes. This book is going to have something different where there's coconut-free recipes. And there's going to be, so I'm going to have coconut-free, egg-free, nut-free, dairy-free. So I do have cashews in like a few recipes because I want to create more coconut-free options. I implemented cashews in some of them. So there's a cashew cream and a coconut cream and a cashew cream and a cauliflower cream in the book as a basis for cream sauces. And then I created, there's a lot of egg-free recipes, a lot more AIP recipes. You prefer slow cooker, pressure cooker? See, it's so hard. Everyone has their thing. Slow, instant pressure. Chocolate chip, no sugar added. Okay. Pressure cooker, slow cooker. Oh, cassava. Someone asked about cassava. So cassava flour is great if you just want to do like grain-free paleo baking. It is not low carb at all. Like 1 cup of cassava flour is equivalent to like 4 or 6 cups of whole cassava. Like cassava is yuca root. Any Cubans out in here? Yuca? Super starchy, super delicious root vegetable, akin to the potato, but not a nightshade. You can make yuca fries. They come out crispy. I have an egg-free, flourless yuca flatbread on my blog that I make from like boiling yuca and working it into a dough and cooking it. It's so good. And I love Otto's cassava flour. Otto's cassava flour brand works really, really, really well. However, I don't use it every day because it's super starchy. So if I do use it, I have an Otto's cassava flour pasta recipe on my blog. So yeah, if you just want to do gluten-free paleo baking, it's the best. It performs amazing. And it's the closest thing you're going to get to wheat flour. And it's nut-free, coconut-free, super allergen-friendly, but crazy high starch. So not keto-friendly. Unless you use like a teaspoon, it's like unless you use it like tapioca starch, maybe to thicken sauces. But even then, when I do keto cooking, I try not to use any kind of starch at all. But yeah, I mean, it's great quality stuff. I don't use it regularly anymore because I do better. Those high starch foods tend to trigger me, my inflammatory stuff. Okay, I think I covered all the questions. So remember, if there's anything, like if you missed the menopause part, which is the beginning of this video, I'm going to download it and put it on my YouTube channel. As always, if you have any other questions, you can always email me or DM me. Have a super good day, guys.